Guys, this is Screen Watching. My name is Dan Barrett. I'm joined by Simon Foster. It's a big week with some pretty big TV shows to discuss, some fairly big movies to discuss. This is the week where Fast X will be racing into cinemas. Vroom, 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 vroom. Simon, are we reviewing it on a show this week?
No, not touching it. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot barge pole.
Okay, so if you want to hear the latest in screen watching, stick around for everything except for the biggest movie in the world. Or is it? Actually, I don't think it is anymore. But anyway, folks, this is screen watching. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of movies and TV shows. Strap yourself in. Vroom, 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 vroom.
This is not like TV, only better.
Television! Teacher! Mother!
Secret lover.
What, that's it? That's your movie?
Well, I said that I had an idea for a movie.
Guys, this is Screen Watching. It is a late Thursday evening record. We've got the sillies about us. I watched an episode of Yo Gabba Gabba once, and it told us about dancing the sillies out. And I could recreate that song for you through the magic of a song. But I've opted not to do that. Instead, I'm just going to offer some TV reviews as the podcast goes on. Simon, I'm going to trust your well, and I'm just going to dive in and talk about what I'm going to talk about this week, which is a brand new comedy on Apple TV Plus. It's called High Desert. No, not Desert. High Desert. It takes place in the sandy confines. And then also I'm going to talk about another comedy on Apple TV Plus called Platonic. That's a lot of comedy. Seinfeld. Sorry, I heard comedy and I just thought Seinfeld. Simon, who I don't think of when I think about comedy, what have you got on the plate today?
Oh, Dan Barrett, it's good to be back chatting with you, all things screen watching. You have done some fantastic Michael Winslow-style sound effects at the top of the podcast there, which I know we all appreciate when you sort of jump into one of your inanimate characters. It's often hard to tell the difference. But this week I'll be reviewing The Mother, which is the biggest Netflix movie around the world at the moment, starring a pretty terrific Jennifer Lopez. And I'll be looking at the new Ivan Sen film, Limbo, which is getting a lot of critical acclaim across the country. So they're my two for this week. And no Fast X.
Have I ever told you about my disastrous interview with Michael Winslow?
Oh, no, I don't think you ever have. This is a nice segue.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not a segue. It's just me telling a little story. So a couple of years ago... reverse segue. So I'd say we'll say 10 years ago, thereabouts, Michael Winslow and Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk, the two of them were out in Brisbane for the nerd conference, the Supernova. Anyway, I dropped an email to the Supernova guys saying, hey, I wouldn't mind chatting to both of them for this here podcast. It's called Televised Revolution. It's very popular. The kids would like to hear from these two stars of, stage and screen. Anyway, I got to chat with both of them. They were upstairs in a little green room area just before making a couple of appearances. So I got to talk to both of them back to back. Now, the back to back is the important part of this one, Simon, because what happened was I sat down next to Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk. Michael Winslow first. Sat down next to Michael Winslow.
Winslow
first. Early days of USB microphone recording, and he was really taken with my microphone. And you get that because it's Michael Winslow, and he plays with microphones a fair bit. So he was really into this microphone. He was playing around with it and, doing that sort of sounds and, people walking past or, is there a horse out there? And it was all very confusing. But anyway, really fun interview. Got some really good stories from him. Really engaging, fun guy. Straight after that, Lou Ferrigno sits in the same seat. I'm sitting next to Lou. If people don't know Lou Ferrigno, in the 1970s Incredible Hulk TV series, the Incredible Hulk was played by two people. You've got Bill Bixby, who played Dr. David Banner, the, regular, human type thing. And then when he gets mad and angry and gets big and green, that's when Lou Ferrigno came in. Now, Lou Ferrigno, he's not a special effect. He is just pure Ferrigno. This is... I'm sitting next to Lou Ferrigno. His muscles, Simon, I'm just looking at it. It was like giant watermelons next to me. He's a big, hefty guy.
My goodness me, what an amazing adventure for you.
Also, a lovely guy. Really, really liked him. So I had a great chat with Michael Winslow, straight into a really great chat with Lou Ferrigno. And then I go back to listen to all of it back, and this is what I heard on the recording. And why did that happen? Because
Oh,
Michael Winslow
no.
couldn't help but play with a USB microphone.
Wow, that is just heartbreaking. I've had interviews drop off and audio problems that mean that an interview doesn't work, and I know it can break your heart. But to have Winslow content and have Farino content that just fell through, that's bad news.
Here's the thing. Some people would go, that's nothing. Come on, it's not really that big a deal. But also, for me, Michael Winslow and Lou Ferrigno,
No.
that's like right up there, buddy.
That's how old was this impressionable young Dan Barrett? When was this?
Well, this is like 10 years ago, so I would have been in my early 60s.
This is like the ending of The Fabelmans when a young Steven Spielberg met John Ford. It's that kind of quality.
Look, I mean, you've nailed it. Okay, Simon, we can't do any better than this, so how about we start diving into some of our reviews of the week?
It stinks.
Simon, we alluded to this at the top of the podcast, but we're not going to review the movie Fast X this week, and there's a note in the rundown saying why we won't be reviewing this week's blockbuster release, and you've piqued my curiosity. Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Well, first of all, I object to the fact that they've called it Fast X. Why they wouldn't call it Fast 10 Your Seatbelts is beyond me, because I think that's a much better title. The problem is that this is a huge blockbuster release. Yes, a huge blockbuster release that is not going to have any sway in what I say. Nobody's really interested in what any critic has to say about the Fast and the Furious franchise. There are elements to other franchises that, that can be spoken about, that can be talked on, but with the Fast and Furious franchise, it's basically just a group of people who define themselves as family, even if they're not family, and then they do a whole lot of stunts fighting a bunch of bad guys. Now, from what I understand, Jason Momoa gives a pretty OTT performance as the bad guy in this, which may be reason enough to see it for some. I don't want to see it. And you've often said to me, look, don't review stuff if you don't want to see it. And I don't want to see Fast X. I've seen 9 of them, and that's more than enough for me. So you know what you're in for with Fast X. So get out there and have the time of your life, but it's just not for me or this week's screen watching. I apologize if you're all hanging out for it, but you know what you're in for.
No, I think that's just generally good advice. If you're not into watching it, like, you're not going to give it a fair shake review-wise, like, I say, sit back.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And even some things which I'm not in a mood to review or don't really want to see, I'll still be able to find something in them that I can talk about, or that is of interest, or that is an angle into my review. I don't have that with Fast X, so I can't pretend to.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. And I'm going to talk on a very similar note about the new Disney Plus series, The Clearing, in a little bit on the podcast. But first, Simon, a movie that you were into, or at least into enough to want to review it on the podcast, it's a new Netflix movie called The Mother.
Where's my baby? You wasted FBI time trying to cut a deal for yourself, and 7 agents were killed. This conversation now takes place on our terms. Adrienne Lavelle and Hector Alvarez are still out there. You and I both know the only way you protect that child is to disappear.
Apparently, the biggest film on the Netflix calendar at the moment is The Mother. This is the new Jennifer Lopez action thriller in which she plays the mother of the title. The film starts off a dozen or so years ago when she's a secret agent, a killing assassin who suddenly finds herself embroiled in a sort of a 3-way romantic entanglement with Joseph Fiennes, who's the Fiennes brother who can't act, and Gael Garcia Bernal, who's a fine actor in his own regard. Jump forward 10 years, 12 years, the young child that she had a dozen years ago has been fostered out into the American suburbia and hidden away from those that might be trying to kill the Jennifer Lopez character, the mother. She's now sort of headed off to the wilds of Alaska to hide away and try to forget the fact that she once had a child. But she is soon called upon when word gets out that what could be either Joseph Fiennes or Gael Garcia Bernal's cartel have discovered who the child is, and they're coming to get her. So back into action goes Jennifer Lopez. The kid and the mother are reunited, and what ensues is a pretty terrific chase movie across the wilds of Northern America. and a really interesting sort of take on mothering a teenage daughter. Now, the big in for this for me was that it's directed by a lady called Nikki Caro. Now, Nikki Caro, regular listeners will know that the New Zealand film Whale Rider is one of my all-time favourite movies. And Nikki Caro she's done some stuff just to pay the bills and to get a foot in Hollywood, but she's also done really interesting films like Whale Rider, like the live-action version of Mulan, and now The Mother, in which she looks at sort of those formative early teen years of one of the characters and does so within kind of a genre framework. With Mulan, she did it, the live action version of the big, Disney animated film. And with The Mother, it's a chase thriller. It's an action thriller, but there's also these really well thought out elements to do with raising a child you don't know and being the mother you always wanted to be but weren't allowed to be. And I think that's probably why Nikki Caro got the gig, because I don't know that she's a terrific action director, although there's some terrific action scenes in this and in Mulan, but she does have some great scenes in the quieter moments that maybe a male director wouldn't have sort of latched onto and made the most of in a film like The Mother. So I can see why it's getting a lot of people watching it. It's some of the best work Jennifer Lopez has done in a long time. She gives this really sort of stoic action heroine performance, barely cracks a smile, does some great action scenes. And the young actress with whom she does the mother-daughter stuff, whose name I didn't write down. I wish I knew that. Maybe you can have a look at for us while I'm checking things out here. But The Mother is a pretty terrific bit of filmmaking, and does make me wish it had a big screen release, because it would have looked beautiful on the big screen. But it's on Netflix, and it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, made for Netflix, so therefore it should never be on the big screen. That's just how I see it.
I know you do. But she's great in it. Lopez is always worth watching, and it's good to see her do something other than the light and fluffy stuff. And at 50 plus, I guess she is now. She's sort of still bringing the action scenes really, really well.
Well, it's exciting to hear that maybe she's made a second good movie.
After Made in Manhattan. I love Made in Manhattan.
Yeah, you nailed it on that one. Simon, can we go on and talk about a brand new Apple TV Plus series called High Desert?
As you can see, it's a really great neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, it's a great
The
market.
house has great bones. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you excuse me? What the hell happened?
Hit and run. I'm never going to that Walmart again.
We supported you while Mommy was here, but ain't happening anymore.
I told you. I'm a private investigator now.
You're just gonna have to hustle.
I need a hustle. No, to hustle.
This is the time, Peg. You're a phoenix, baby.
I know.
One of my big grievances at the moment is I'll be looking at a TV schedule and I'll be talking about like new TV shows coming out. And you read like the synopsis of any of them that has the word private investigator into it. And there's always some sort of really big gimmick.
Oh.
Okay. And it's something like, Poker Face, for example. As great as Poker Face is, the gimmick of that program is private investigator on the run for her life, but also she's able to read people and be able to tell if they're lying or not. Okay, or like any other thing where often a private investigator, like it always has some sort of like autism as a superpower element to it. It's just, there's always just something going on and it just frustrates me. To the point where, and I'm just going to reuse a joke from my newsletter during the week, okay, I would be amazed to see a private investigator who, wait for it, the gimmick is this, Simon, they're a private investigator who charges money for them to go and investigate mysteries and crimes that are taking place around. Like, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Which brings us
It'd be innovation. That's true. That's sort of innovation you don't often see in television. Yeah.
Yeah. Capitalism as the private investigator superpower. I think it'd just be, mwah, chef's kiss. What an idea. Hollywood come at me. So anyway, we've got this new program. It's called High Desert. It's about Peggy Newman, a woman with a checkered past who makes a life-changing decision to become a private investigator following the death of her beloved mother, with whom she lived in a small desert town in Yucca Valley, California. Okay, so this one, thankfully, it's not really necessarily her as having a superpower per se, but it is very much a quirky private investigator story where this woman, she was the wife of a couple who were, I guess, weed barons, okay, in California years ago. Their place got raided, basically. That takes place 10 years later. And so she's now living a sort of fairly pathetic life as a actor in a country, like saloon type show. She does a little musical number. It's kind of terrible. She's got that going on. She's been looking after her mum, played by the great Bernadette Peters. She's since passed away, and so now the family are sort of coming together and essentially telling the Peggy character, played by Patricia Arquette. Did I say that? I'm not sure. That basically they're not going to support her financially. She's really on her own from this point. And so she's and her sister is the one that sort of tells her this, played by Christine Taylor, who I haven't seen on screen for years. So it was good to see her back on my screen. And she ends up sort of getting together with a local private investigator played by Brad Garrett, who we saw being brutalized in an episode of Bupkis a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, that was quite unpleasant. He's getting a real resurgence in his career. He's turning up in everything.
Yeah, I guess so. The couple of other familiar faces, Rupert Friend's in this, just a bunch of people. This is a wry, funny series. It's hard to really recommend to anyone because I don't think it's really amazing, but watch that first episode and I kind of think that you're in for all 10 episodes. It's an Apple TV show, so it'll be 10 episodes. It's good. Directed by Jay Roach, the pilot episode. The thing is that there's nothing really to recommend it that much. The performances are solid. The jokes are fine. It's an hour long, which I think maybe harms it a bit more than benefits it. Probably a little bit stronger as a half hour. But, by and large, perfectly fun, interesting TV. Yeah, nothing revelatory. Nothing bad. Just, enjoy. Yeah.
High Desert. Good day. I just noticed that Matt Dillon's a bit further down the cast list. He must make an appearance a bit later on. Looking forward to seeing that. I've always been a big fan of Patricia Arquette. I mean, True Romance is one of my favourite films too. So she was great in that and has been ever since. So, all right, High Desert on the Apple TV platform as we speak. I got out and managed to see a new Australian film called Limbo. Ivan Sen, I think, is fairly well established as one of our best directors, one of Australia's best filmmakers. And I would almost go so far as to say Limbo is the best thing he's ever done. And I'm fully aware that by saying that, I'm counting in things like Beneath the Clouds and Tumala and Goldstone and Mystery Road and your favourite, Loveland, the science fiction one that you helped him out with last year. But this one, he sort of goes deeper. It goes deeper and darker with a black and white shot murder mystery set in Coober Pedy, in which Simon Baker plays this very sort of hardened but damaged detective who turns up in the South Australian outback to sort of rake over the coals of a cold case murder, a young woman that went missing several years ago, and he visits upon the Indigenous family who have been sort of torn asunder, ripped apart by this unsolved murder mystery. All the while, there's the inherent racism of the town and the police that they have to deal with and that he finds himself in the middle of. He's got his own problems. He's a functioning heroin addict who shoots up every night back in the underground hotel room in Coober Pedy, but is then sort of together enough during the daytime hours to go out and do some half-hearted investigating, but which soon becomes a full-time obsession as elements of the case start to sort of float to the surface. So there's the opportunity for him there to solve the case, but also the opportunity to play some kind of bonding agent for the family and the troubles that they're in. The cast in this, apart from Simon Baker, is terrific. Rob Collins, an Indigenous actor, he plays Charlie, who's the man whose daughter has gone missing, and the father of the young kids that are left behind, and he's sort of torn away from the family. And Natasha Wanganeen plays Emma, the mother of these kids, and the sister of Charlotte, the murdered woman, who and who's desperate to sort of put her life on the right course again. And you know things are going to go bad when you've got old bad boy Bubby himself, Nicholas Hope, amongst the cast. The black and white cinematography is stunning in this. The Australian outback looks amazing on film anyway, but when it's given the sort of deep blacks and greys and all the different shades that monochrome cinematography affords a film like this, it just looks beautiful up on the screen. And Simon Baker, who's totally sort of foregone any leading man or matinee idol good looks for this role, he's finally playing this sort of hard-edged, deeper character that he's always been sort of primed to play but hasn't always had the opportunity to. He's terrific in this. It's a slow-moving film. It's a minimal dialogue film, but that only adds to sort of the outback noir kind of feel that it has, this sort of simmering tension, this unsolved murder that hangs like a really dark shadow over all these people. I thought it was a really terrific film, probably the best Aussie film I've seen this year.
So for those of whom stuck with this podcast past my previous anemic review for High Desert, where I clearly had nothing I really had to say about that one, I've got a lot to say about this one. It's a brand new Apple TV Plus series called Platonic. It debuts this coming Wednesday, as opposed to High Desert, which came out last Wednesday. Anyway, this one, it's directed by Nicholas Stoller, and we're going to play some audio in a second. But first of all, I've got a Nicholas Stoller rant I need to sort of start diving into. There was this time you played with the USB microphone on my... No. Nicholas Stoller, he's definitely one of these directors where I've got a love-hate sort of a relationship with him. So when you start going through some of his credits, okay, he's a writer-director, and there's no rhyme or reason to whether he's written and directed something, whether it'll be good or not. Okay, sometimes just things that he's written have been really good, sometimes they're just terrible. Sometimes there's things he's directed that are really good, sometimes they're just terrible. Sometimes he's a writer-director on things, and they can be quite good or quite terrible. You never quite know what you're going to get with this guy. So he's directed some of my just favorite comedies, and these aren't necessarily, like, when I say favorite comedies, I'm not talking about comedies that are like all-timer, like, you know, Groundhog Day or Ghostbusters or anything with Bill Murray, you know, just generally, you know, just movies that I've got very strong fondness for. And some of the best comedies that one sees are just those generic ones that just kind of resonate or stick with you for whatever reason. So things that he's done in the past, and it's just a smattering of the things, you know, jumping out to me. Directing Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Didn't write that, directed it. Really fun movie, had a great time with it. Yes Man with Jim Carrey. Wrote that movie, didn't direct it, had a really good time with it. Get Him to the Greek. Wrote and directed that movie. I had a good time with it. But then there's things I really didn't like The Muppets, which he was the writer on. Did not care for that movie at all. Gulliver's Travels. No, thank you. 5 Year Engagement. Oh, God, definitely no. He wrote and directed that one. That was just dreadful. Muppets Most Wanted. Also, I was, writer on that one. No, thank you. Neighbours, or as we termed it here in Australia, Bad Neighbours. Really good. He was the director on that one. I had a great time with it. Followed that up with Sex Tape. Awful film. Absolutely terrible. No, thank you. Zoolander 2. The less said about that, the better. Neighbours 2, Sorority Rising. I really liked that one. Yes, please. More of that. Really liked it. Okay, and then it's just a career like that. The last thing he did was Bros, which certainly had some fans and then many detractors. I haven't seen that one yet, and, you know, basically I heard Nicholas Stoller was directing it, and I just couldn't quite bring myself to do it. But what I've tended to find is that...
Friend of the show as well. He was on... Yeah, friend of the show as well. He was...
Yeah. You can finish your sentence, Simon. It's okay.
Friend of the show as well. He was on... Friend of the show as well. He was on screen watching for the release of Bros, or Bros as I demanded it be called, when it was released out here. Yeah, so you're right. I think he's, and it's great to see him back with Seth and Rose in this, because his best work has been Neighbours, I think.
Well, this is the thing. So the one thing that you can look to with a Nicholas Stoller work is seeing who the other talent is involved in this one, because it can really elevate Nicholas Stoller and get him to really work to his maximum potential. And I don't think he's been better than with the Neighbours movies. And what was great about that is he got this central relationship with Seth Rogen and, what have I just forgotten her name? Rose Byrne.
The wonderful Rose Byrne.
Yeah, you've got Rose Byrne, you've got Seth Green, and the two of them are just magnetic on screen together, which brings us to the brand new Apple TV Plus comedy, Platonic, starring Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, directed and written by Nicholas Stoller. Play the clip.
Okay.
Family movie night, guys. Oh, whoa.
What?
Will's getting a divorce.
So call him.
We literally haven't spoken to each other in years.
Call him. That's what friends do.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
How's the beer business?
I'm actually the brewmaster at my own bar now.
Congratulations.
You still got that family of yours?
You want to see a photo?
Well, there they are. Cool.
What are you up to?
Oh, life is my life!
So, lunch?
No,
Brunch?
no. I don't have time for this.
Can't be friends with a girl.
There's lots of famous men and women friends. Laura Dern and Sam Neill in Jurassic Park.
Anticipation for this one, pretty high. And I got to say, magnifique. I love this program, Simon. I am so in love with this program.
Good. I'm glad.
So debuting this week on Apple TV Plus, you got the first 3 episodes, which I've seen the 3 of those. I haven't seen the rest of the season yet, but I'll be watching that pretty much quick smart. As soon as I finish this dumb podcast, I'll probably watch a few more episodes of it. It's really charming. Basically, the whole premise of it is that you've got these 2 people that were really good friends through university, and I guess a couple of years after that, had a bit of a falling out. Seth Rogen's character, he decided he was going to marry this woman named Audrey. She was terrible for him. The Rose Byrne character, she told him that, and that was kind of like a line in the sand moment. Friendship just fell out entirely from that point in. She's gone off to live a life of becoming like a mother to 3 kids. She had a promising legal career, which she ended up putting on the back burner to become a lawyer. Her husband, who was around back in the day when the 2 of them were, palling around, played by Luke McFarlane from the aforementioned Bros. I don't remember which Bros brother he was, but he was one of them. He's in there, so it's essentially you've got all the players in it know like the history of these characters, and they really are just the backdrop for Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne suddenly rediscover each other again, because the Seth Rogen character has realized that he was in a bad relationship, and so he's now at a point in his life where he does need to grow up, and so he's sort of balancing out his very childish ways with a woman who's done nothing but grow up, so she kind of wants to regress a little bit, and the 2 of them are meeting in this really nice place in the middle where hilarity is sure to ensue. It's very charming, and the one thing
it sounds very sweet. It's
like, it is sweet. It's as sweet as a Seth Rogen comedy is going to be, is probably the thing to really keep in mind there. But sure, it's a good character-centered comedy. The jokes are very funny. I laughed out loud many times in every episode. That central relationship works just fantastically. It's kind of exactly what I'm after from a comedy. And it's quite a step up from the last TV series that Nicholas Stoller did, which was this awful show called Friends from College, which had a whole bunch of really interesting, funny people in it. And it was just awful. But this, great. Nicholas Stoller, you've done it again.
That's great to hear. Rose Byrne is the jewel in any crown for me. She can do no wrong. And if they can recapture the comic timing they had in Neighbours, then this is a huge plus. And to see Luke McFarlane back on the screen, he was very good in Bros. And I'm keen to see what he does with Stoller doing other material. But with Rogen and Byrne out front, this is I didn't realize it was a Stoller joint, so I'm going to tune in for this because they all do good work together. So 3 episodes on Apple TV.
Well, 3 episodes this week.
All right, this brings us to the end of our review segment. This is very exciting. We're hurtling through these with a good bunch of titles in there. Not bad. This is the intermission segment. All right, so the Family Stallone premieres on Paramount Plus this week. This is the fly on the wall, behind the scenes look at the family of Sylvester Stallone, his wife Jennifer Flavin, his beautiful daughters, and sort of capturing what he does in his house behind closed doors. And that's fine, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. But the inner workings we'd really like a reality TV glimpse of is ... What might that be? Now, I mean, I went into this thinking if we could find 3 families each that we might like to see the the inner workings of. And I had a bit of trouble coming up with three families. So I've sort of broadened it out to a bit of a reality TV pitch. And if we can come up with three on the fly, so to speak, we might make a little bit of cash on the side. Maybe some producer will snap this up, steal our idea, we'll have to sue them, and the court will find in our favour. So you want me to kick this off? I've got three interesting ones. They were a little bit hard to sort of figure out, but what do you think?
Okay, Simon, give me all three at once. We'll go 3-3.
All right, let's blast through this. My first one, it's called Matthew Broderick's New York, and here's the pitch. Since defining a generation with his iconic turn in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Matthew Broderick has never left the public eye, but how much do we know about how the actor spends his days in his beloved Big Apple, from his home life, his professional commitments and his charity work to his struggles with aging while always being compared to his youthful self? We follow some days in the life of a man called Matthew Broderick.
Look, I find that interesting, but will there be any sort of opportunity where we see aspects of the real Matthew Broderick where he talks about that time that he murdered a man?
Oh, my God. You always got to put a negative spin on it. All right, okay. Maybe not Matthew Broderick's one. No, but he's gone past that.
He did murder a person, Simon.
It was a car accident. It was a car accident while he was...
With considerable negligence from his end.
Ireland. All right, we might have to roll a red line through Matthew Broderick's New York. All right, well, this will lighten things up. This one's called Our Tehran Diplomats. Okay, this is the pitch. The US diplomatic mission has been defunct. Wait, no. So the US diplomatic mission has been defunct and the building has not been used by the US since the Iran hostage crisis in 1979. We're talking about the US embassy in Iran. Since then, the United States government has been represented in Iran by the United States interest section of the Embassy of Switzerland in Tehran. Now, in the new show, Our Tehran Diplomats, we get a glimpse of life in a hostile foreign land for the US representatives who live and work within this environment. Now, that's watchable.
I mean, yeah, but this is really stretching the idea of, hey, let's pick some other families that aren't the Stallone family.
Yes, I know. I did sort of veer away from the family thing because I couldn't really think of any families that I'm that interested in other than my own, and I don't want anyone filming what I do in here. So I thought Our Tehran Diplomats might be a good sort of CNN type thing. You could pitch it at one of the news networks.
Oh, look, I'm into it. I just feel as though I've been shanghaied into creating a list here that's nowhere near as creative or as imaginative as that is, but sure.
Wait till you hear my third one, and this could be my masterpiece. This is the piece. It's called Monarch of the Fjord. You ready for this? It is the world's smallest kingdom, located in the middle of Denmark's Roskilde Fjord. The Micronesian of Elior has a king and a queen, a council of state, its own laws, even its own currency and stamps. Of course, there's one catch. All through the year, nobody lives there. But during 1 week in August, called the El Week, the people of the Kingdom of Elior return to celebrate the glory of their homeland. Our production team embed themselves on Elior for El Week when the population surges by several dozen, often drunken people, and the bureaucracy tries to get on with running the affairs of the state. That sounds like a barrel of laughs and very interesting.
Yeah, sure, maybe. Maybe. I'm just feeling dirty about this whole situation.
Oh, God. No, I think that would work. I think that is I didn't know this tiny kingdom. It's only been in kingdom since 1944 when a bunch of uni students bought it, and they didn't know what they were in for when they started a kingdom, and now it's celebrated 1 week a year. And I think that'd be a crazy, crazy time to embed yourself in Denmark.
Go chat to your wife. Go pitch it at SBS. Clearly that's where this is heading.
All right, mister, give us your three.
Okay, here's my three, because I thought we were adhering to just famous people family shit,
right.
But, here we go, okay. So, look,
No, that's fine. Let's hear your families.
My first one, I am absolutely obsessed with Ben Affleck, the man, and his private life. I would like to see a behind-the-scenes thing with Ben Affleck hanging out with J-Lo. That's the new relationship. I'd like to see how that works. I'd like to see how on a day-to-day life, just in terms of him hanging out with his mates, like Matt Damon, for example. I'd like to see those visits he has with Alias star Jennifer Garner, his ex-wife. Like, I think that he's got a fascinating life with a whole bunch of fascinating characters around him. I want to see, a week with Affleck. Let's give that a gander. Now, I stretched my idea. I got a little bit creative as well, Simon. So I'm just listening. Just
let's
chill
hear
out.
it.
Hold on for a second. I heard about your fancy foreign lands, whatever. Okay. I thought for this one here, this isn't necessarily a reality show. Okay. This is more let's create a constructed reality that pretends to be a reality program following a family around. So I thought, let's do an animated version with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You may be familiar with them. You got Donatello, you got Raphael, you got Leonardo, you've got Michelangelo. Michelangelo, he's a bit of a party dude. Okay, 4 brothers hanging around in the sewers of New York, and you just get to see what they're up to in their daily lives, their struggles with each other's burgeoning fame and perfume fortunes. Okay, so I'm pitching that one. And then my final one is this gentleman named Arnold Schwarzenegger. You may have heard of him. He's got some delightful videos online where he hangs out with his miniature horse. I want to see that program. I want to see what Arnold's up to on a weekly basis as he's sending out his motivational emails to the world, as he's hanging out with his miniature horse. He has a fascinating world around him right now. I want to see the behind the scenes of some of it.
All right. I'll go for the Arnold one. I think you're right. I think he has sort of etched a place for himself, carved a niche for himself in the world of public opinion and of public living right now that would lend itself to a off-kilter kind of reality show. I'm going to nix the Teenage Ninja Turtle ones. I don't think that would work as an animated film, an animated series. What was the first one? Oh, yeah, you're Brad and Ben. Aren't we a little bit sick of the public life of Ben and Jen and Matt and what's Jennifer as well? I just think we probably see enough of that in the pages of Who magazine to but again, it's what the people want to see. They'll soak up every little bit. So maybe that one would work as well. So you've gone the low-hanging fruit in terms of celebrity, but I think that'd probably work. I still think my Danish micronation kingdom is probably the winner, but anyway, we'll give it a go.
First of all, I wasn't looking.
So that was the intermission.
Simon, first of all, I wasn't looking for your permission. Second of all, has Who Weekly even been in publication for however many years? I really don't know, because it's 2023, and who's paying attention to
It's
Who
happening.
Weekly?
It is a
Update
thing.
your references.
You will regret those words when you're going begging to Who Weekly to be the sponsor of your Ben and Jen show, because they're the only ones that'll put any bucks behind it. But hey, I'm just saying, they're out there.
Yeah, where would I find anyone who wants to invest money in a TV series about Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez? Who would be crazy enough to invest some money into that?
Yeah, okay. Dan, what else have you been watching?
What else have I been watching? Great question. It's almost like it's on our rundown. Very quickly, I've been watching The Smurfs, The Lost Village. It was an animated film from 2017. Now, look, I grew up watching The Smurfs. I've got a young child in my life who I would like her also to engage with the Smurfs, because I think they're wholesome, just Smurfy characters. This film, kind of terrible, but also it was still the Smurfs and I had a great time with it. Something else I had a great time with was a film
2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
Simon, This is the computer animated version from 2017, not to be confused with the live action computer animated sort of hybrid films from 2010 and 2000 and whatever the other one was.
Right. This is where I'm getting confused. Okay, fair enough. All right, Smurfs: The Lost Village. Must see.
Anyway, it's absolutely Smurfy. Okay, next thing I saw was Fall, which is on Prime Video this week. This is a movie which I don't know if you reviewed it when it was in a cinema. It's these two people, they're young women who, one of them's had a tragedy in her life. Her mountain climbing boyfriend, fiance, had fallen off a cliff face. She's distraught. It's the 1 year anniversary of him dying. Her friend, who was also there at the death of the guy, she's like, hey, come and climb this large TV tower with me. And so the two of them climb this massive TV tower. It's in the middle of the desert. There's nothing else around. And then the small little ladder that helps them get to the top of this crazy big antenna falls off. So as the two of them stuck what seems to be like 500 meters or something into the sky, They've got no way of getting down. They've got no way to communicate with anyone around them. How do they get off this tower? Anyway, completely silly, completely foolish movie, but I had a great time with it. It's a lot of fun. It's really dumb in parts, but then you reach the end of it, it's like, that was fantastic. I'd like more of this. Thank you very much.
I heard lots of good things about The Fall from those who see it. It was just one that skimmed through cinemas very quickly and didn't get... I don't think they even did previews for it, the Village Roadshow people. But everyone who saw it said that they take this loopy premise and make a really entertaining and thrilling movie out of it. So, yeah, I'll probably catch up with it on the big screen here in my living room.
Yeah, very watchable. And that one's streaming on Prime Video now. You don't have to pay any extra money for it. It's just right there. Disney Plus, it's got The Clearing. This is a brand new Australian drama which follows... It's basically a series about like a cult family. So it's a family that had kidnapped a whole bunch of kids and the kids get indoctrinated into this family. And so there's a bit of a split timeline taking place with the emotional effects and impacts of living in this sort of weird cult community are being felt, a generation later. It starts out with kids being kidnapped, and frankly, much like how you're just not really interested in reviewing Fast X, anything these days where kids are being kidnapped, I've got a kid in my life, and that's the last thing I really want to think about. So when these things come along, it's like, I'm willing just to step back. The show's fine, good performances, it looks all right, but I've got zero interest in continuing with this one.
All right. What else have I been watching? I'm glad you asked. So this week I had a very unusual experience. I'm right up to date with all 5 episodes of Love and Death, which is the Elizabeth Olsen true life crime drama in which she plays Candy Montgomery, the church mom from Texas who ended up killing with an axe the wife of the man she was having an affair with. And then I came to learn that the limited series Candy, starring Jessica Biel, which came out towards the end of last year, tells exactly the same story, the story of Candy Montgomery, the church mum who kills the wife of the husband of the man she's having an affair with. So I wanted to get some idea about how 2 very high-profile limited series take on the same story and sort of present them in a different way. Why is... we talk about every year, there's been years where there's 2 Robin Hood movies, where there's 2 Volcano movies, 2 Meteor movies. Now there's 2 Murderous Church Mum movies. And I got through a couple of episodes of Candy today, in addition to getting up to date with Love and Death. And it's really interesting the way they structure the story. Candy, bang, go straight into the murder. You see that in episode 1. So you're dealing with how the ramifications come from that, the investigations, and how Jessica Biel really starts to unravel in the role of Candy. She's terrific. In Love and Death, it doesn't come until episode 4, and we learn a whole lot about the affair that Elizabeth Olsen is having with Jesse Plemons. That's right, I said Jesse Plemons. He's got some... I don't know who his agent is to get him these roles, having sex scenes with Elizabeth Olsen, but good luck to you, Jesse. 2 very good and surprisingly different shows that tell exactly the same story. So which to watch? I don't know. I mean, I'm watched more of Love and Death, and it's certainly very watchable. She is terrific, but Candy is shaping up as a must-watch as well, even though I kind of know the story. So just interesting to come across that. That's what I've been watching.
I don't know who Elizabeth Olsen's agent is to get her in a position where she gets to have sex on screen with Jesse Plemons.
You make a very good point. Yes, they should sort of reevaluate her career path. Anyway, in history, Dan Barrett, are you ready for your big 4 questions? This is very exciting.
Okay, hit me. What do we got?
May 18, 1959, 2 hours of nighttime programming, mostly archived newsreel and free donated content, ushers in the new era of TV for which Pacific nation? May 18, 1959.
Tonga.
Nice try. New Zealand. Thank you to our listeners in New Zealand. He went with Tonga over you. Good one. May 20, 1986. CBS TV airs a 25th anniversary special celebrating which groundbreaking sitcom family? May 20, 1986 airs a 25th anniversary special celebrating which groundbreaking sitcom family?
Okay, so looking at the clues here, 1986, 25th anniversary, so it's on 1961. The only groundbreaking sitcom I would say of the time is one animated sitcom called The Flintstones.
Ah, you magnificent bastard, you got it, well done. May 21, 1990, the Cannes Film Festival's top honour, the Palme d'Or, is awarded to which David Lynch film? May 21, 1990.
So I don't know my Lynch especially well. 90 is Wild at Heart.
Well done, my friend. It is Wild at Heart. And, of course, the Cannes Film Festival kicked off this week with the Johnny Depp sort of chitter-chatter. No one's really talking about the films, which is a shame. May 23, 1980, which blockbuster Stephen King film adaptation premieres in US theatres? May 23, 1980.
Now, I know this one with great confidence. It's a film called The Shining.
The Shining. It was The Shining, which also features in the Candy Montgomery story, Love and Death and Candy. It plays an important part in that as well. All right, birthday time. We're hurtling through this.
No, not happy birthday. No, not that. Please, no, not happy birthday.
Now, I think these birthday clues are right up your alley. May 20, 1959, Bronson Pinchot, who we remember as Belky. This got nothing to do with the answer. May 21st, 1952, Mr. T. May 23, 1977, Richard Ayoade. And May 26, 1962, Bobcat Goldthwait. An eclectic bunch, it must be said. What small screen endeavour combines them all?
I quite like all four of these men for their various sort of artistic endeavours over the years. And I can't work out the connective tissue here at all. The only thing I can suggest is at some stage, have all four of these gentlemen played a lawyer in a TV series? Sorry, wait a sec. Can I rephrase that?
No.
Starred as a lawyer in a TV series?
No, it's got nothing to do with that. All these gentlemen, these four gentlemen, all hosted their own shows. It's that simple. May 20, 1959, Bronson Pinchot fronted the Bronson Pinchot Project, 20 episodes, a reality TV home improvement do-it-yourself mashup. Mr. T, he hosted World's Craziest Fools, a clip show featuring people doing stupid things. It lasted 20 episodes. I Pity the Fool lasted 6 episodes. He was a motivational guru who offers advice to fans. And in the pilot, I Pity the Tool, he plays a man who shows up at deteriorating houses with a sledgehammer and a team of design experts. It did not go to series. Of course, Richard Ayoade has done a lot of hosting. He did Question Team for 16 episodes, 38 episodes of The Crystal Maze, and 47 episodes of Travel Man. And Bobcat Goldthwait hosted his own series, Bobcat's Big Ass Show, which was on in 1998 for one season on FX, in which contestants do stupid stunts. There you go.
Well, can I ask a trivia question myself, Simon? Of these four men, which of them played a lawyer, starred as a lawyer in an ongoing TV series?
Probably Bronson Pinchot.
That's your answer?
That is my answer.
The correct answer is Mr. T.
Really? Who was he? What was the show?
Mr. T starred in a syndicated TV series. It may have been produced for Canada, but I feel it was just a syndicated run series. It ran for 2 seasons in about 1989, 1990, thereabouts. And it was called T&T. And it's hilarious. Get on YouTube, at least watch the opening titles to it. It's a serious drama series where he plays a buttoned-up lawyer.
For the Canadian syndicated TV market. Good for you.
Yep.
That's great. All right, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know, my friend. That brings us to the end of another podcast.
It does indeed. Folks, thank you very much for listening to Screen Watching. So I realised I should start reading the blurb. My name is Dan Barrett. You can find me on Twitter @the Dan Barrett. You can start your day with my free newsletter. It's called Always Be Watching. find that one at alwaysbewatching.com. It covers the big stories in TV, streaming, and film. And then on Fridays, you got the Always Be Streaming newsletter, which recounts the big shows that launched that very week. Simon, I'm freezing right now, so let's hurry this up and get out of here.
Oh, really? You're in the Brisbane basement. Okay. I'm at Simon R. Foster 1 on Twitter. Screen-space.net is where I write on my things. Screen Watching can be found on our Facebook page at Screen Watching Podcast, at Screen_Watching, the Screen Watching YouTube channel where you can see my interview with Limbo director Ivan Sen, and you can email us at screenwatchingpodcast@gmail.com. Go get warm, my friend.
Simon, it is a Brisbane 16 degrees, which for any other states is basically like -4.
Plus, you're sitting there with your pink tank top on and the ribbons in your hair. That can't be warm. Go and put a jumper on.
It's motivational. Simon, have a pleasant evening. Folks, we will see you next week where hopefully I'll have a little hoodie on or something. We'll see you then.